Hey everyone, it's your host Cyber Gaming Studios and welcome back to another video. In today's video I wanted to talk to you guys about something very awesome because in today's video I want to share you guys with a project that I have worked on in the past, and it's a mod, and I am proud to say that I really enjoyed this project. I haven't worked on this project in a very long time, but I am really proud of it. If you guys ever heard of a mod called GoTube Mod, is from version 1.3 to up to like something, I forgot the version name, last version that I made. And if you guys remember that mod, I actually am the one that developed the mod. I'm the one that improved the mod so it works for a majority of PSPs. If you guys remember that handheld console, the original PSP, PlayStation Portable, if you ever had it hacked, there is an application called GoTube. It wasn't the great application. YouTube majority of the time didn't work. There was other plugins other things that didn't work. It had a lot of media content, especially content that aren't made specially for kids. They're more for adults. But you were able to access every single thing, and it was pretty cool. It wasn't, the graphics weren't that great, but it was pretty cool, and we were able to watch YouTube directly onto it. That's what it's called, GoTube. However, it wasn't until I think it was like 2010 or 2009 or 10. I think it was, or other than that, I don't remember. But I remember I took the mod, I took the actual app, and I modified it. I modified it to a point where I started working on it as a project, and it wasn't really more for a hobby. And I pretty much modded it to a point where I got it working 100%. People really enjoyed it. People were really hyped for it. It was one of the most popular mod apps of GoTube in the world, and people really liked my work. I became sort of the PSP legend of PSP, where I took old programs, I modded them to make them better, and then I made my own PSP. Also, I made a PSP Unbreaker, where it just basically backed up your flash show, and then it would, when you want to fix it, you just run the application through recovery, and you can basically restore your flash show with like that. It would unbrick your PSP. The most models that I've actually worked with was the 3000. I worked with just for GoTube and stuff like that. But then when I got a 1000, I started experimenting more. That's where I got more of my hardcore coding into, and that's where I started coding in the first place. Was the original PSP, and I really enjoyed the work because a lot of people really was inspired to develop their own apps, and I think that was the peak of GoTube. Whenever GoTube wasn't working, I would modify it, I would update it, I would keep updates to it to modify it, to make improvements. And I don't know when the last version was, and I don't know if even it's available online. I know one of the versions may be somewhere, but I have no idea. I would continue the project if I would. If somebody has files for GoTube, the latest files, the last version of GoTube Mod, I would probably continue it, but I don't have any files for it yet, so I can't do anything. And it's been a long time since I've actually coded for the PSP, and I did all my coding on the PSP itself. There was a hex editor on PSP where I did my mods on, and there was a lot of tools that I could use, and it was pretty amazing. I really liked doing what I did, and it just revolutionized how people watch YouTube on the PSP. Now, GoTube for me was an innovation because it was the only device at the time that I could be able to do a lot more with. I had the Wii and I had a PS2, but you know, the Wii wasn't the greatest thing, and then for loading websites, especially YouTube, and as well for other things. And then you had the PS2, which had no web browser, which, to be honest, doing all the browser option in BIOS, I thought that was an actual browser. I was really excited until I realized it was more of your memory cards, and I was so dumb. So when I had the PSP, it was my first device. I didn't have barely internet, and I was pretty much at the window because we had internet, but my family wouldn't give me the internet password. So I was basically living off of a Wi-Fi connection that was way far away that was open, luckily. But then I was able to sneakily get the password key and being able to connect to our own Wi-Fi internet, so we don't have to worry about connecting to or sticking to the window. I was pretty excited. My aunt didn't really like me on the fact that on the internet. I don't know why. I think it was because she was trying to hide. I don't know if she was trying to hide something from me or something. I don't know. But either way, it was really weird. But ever since I got on the internet, I started looking into hacking my PSP because one day I wanted to hack my PSP, and luckily I was able to, and I was having a blast. I was having a blast modding my PSP. I was able to get games on my PSP. I actually, to be honest, I don't know if how many people do this, but I've downloaded games, moved games. I did everything that you're supposed to use a PC for on my PSP. I didn't use a PC because at the time I had a laptop, but it was mostly my aunt and my cousins. And my cousin wouldn't let me use his laptop because he had a password protected laptop. And my aunt would only use it very once in a while, but not very often, so I really couldn't use it. So the majority of the time, I had to think of ways to use my PSP as a computer so I can be able to move the games, do a lot of things, editing software, making apps, and it took a lot of work. I think I'm the only one that actually did it on a PSP instead of doing it on the computer, because when you're very limited, you have very limited tools, so you have to be very constructive. And that was really the big part of it about GoTube, was the impressive, the creation, the creativity and love I put into the application. And you can believe it or not, my developer name is G77555725. That's the same thing ID as my PSN ID. It's pretty much most of my online gaming platforms where I game. Other than that, that's not really the case. When I lost my PSP and I wasn't able to use a PSP anymore, I stopped the development of the GoTube mod, and I really couldn't. The most reason why I didn't continue modding or continue updates and support for GoTube was because the PSP that I was using was my last PSP. I wasn't going to get another one. And it wasn't my own PSP. It was my cousin's PSP, and he was at 1000, and his was able to be flashed and stuff like that. When all the shit went down back in 2013, I'm not going to discuss it in this video, but I wasn't able to use the handheld anymore. I didn't have access to the handheld anymore. I didn't even own it anymore. I didn't have it because it went back to my cousin. However, I do remember when the last time I remember updating it. I remember adding a new plugin. I don't remember what plugin it was, but I can remember that it was a big project that I was going to work, where it was going to make GoTube connect to several servers, a multi-server network, and so it can connect without having any issues for long-term support. So I don't have, if I decided to abandon the app, I don't have to update the app at all to do anything. But now that I can do that, it's impossible to do that. So I don't know how the condition of the app. I don't know if it's still working. I have no idea. I haven't owned a PSP since 2013, and you can pretty much how old that is probably now. But I've worked a lot in the PSP scene. I was one of the best developers. Not the best developers. I did have some hate when I was a developer because people didn't like my methods. People didn't like how I coded my apps, and people complained that their device is bricked. And as you know, as a software developer, especially a hacker, you have to go in sign that says use at your own risk. I always put use at your own risk in my threads to make sure that, okay, so you, if you use my software, there is a possibility that you may damage your device. I'm not so responsible, you are. So some people had problems with it because they decided to either use the software on a unhackable PS4, not PS4, but PSP, and they tried to use it. And I really can't tell them anything. They even tried to tell me I GoTube bricked their PSP, but that's highly logical because I've been using GoTube for a very long time, and never had once occurred to me. I had it crash on me from time to time, but never give me a break before. Which is very rare to happen. But people gave me hate. People don't like. Some people don't like my work. Many people tried to report me, but that didn't work. Then I stopped developing for PSP back in 2013, and I haven't worked on my console since. I actually had a website back in the day where people were able to get games for their PSP for free. It was called Rhapsody Network, and I stopped doing that. So even if that website does still exist, or any kind of form of it, you really can't access any of the games anyways. They're pretty much dead. I was actually going to revive it at some point, but then I said, you know what? This console is so old by now that people are not going to go back on the PSPs just to get these games. It's just not even worth it. I know it seems pretty cool, but it's not really worth it. So yeah, so I haven't worked on GoTube in a very long time. I've been working on the projects now. Like I made in 2015, I made Game Realm OS, and I made it first originally on the XS4, and then I started growing it over years. And that's my current projects right now. But either way, that's how GoTube originally originated from. GoTube Mod has been originated from the idea of wanting to run YouTube without no problems, and it's been a success for a long time. People really enjoyed it. People really liked it. People were praising it. But unfortunately, due to the circumstances that I was in at the time, I was unable to keep updating it. People actually did share the project, and I was really hyped about it because it was something that was one of my most proud projects. But beyond that, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I felt like it really needed to come out because it's been a while since people figured out who the developer of GoTube Mod really is, and I wanted to tell you guys that I am maybe the developer for GoTube Mod, but not the actual GoTube application. But I wanted to put it out there and tell you my story, and well, believe me, it's pretty much just my development. I'm everywhere. But either way, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and have a wonderful weekend.